I don't.
What was it again? Say it.
Shikin Haramitsu Daikomyo. I think. I think that's how you say it. And I don't know where I learned this, but somebody explained it to me. And it means in every moment, in anything, so in any circumstance, essentially, all truth can be found. I don't know if "found" is the right word, but that's the way I remember it. And yeah, it's like, I don't know, you go through shit, like you go through some hard times. Yeah, you go through some tough times, and as you're doing that, of course, there's so much to complain about, but you don't want to be like that's not where you want to put your energy. So you have to, look higher, right? I don't know if higher is the right word, but you have to adjust to something better. And so you try, and you always have this sort of cloud above your head. That's the feeling, anyway, of this phrase, like Shikin Haramitsu Daikomyo. It essentially means that no matter how bad things get, like you could be grounded in this like sort of truth at any moment. And of course, like the closer you get to a war, the closer you get to the front. As soldiers, as humanitarian volunteers evacuating people from like really fucked up conditions, in like a very active area, active neighborhoods. It can completely be, worlds apart, like from block to block, like village block to block. Houses, mostly one-story houses, and the military have to live there, on both sides. Like they occupy the villages because a lot of the villagers evacuate, right? So
right.
You have all of these emptying neighborhoods, and a lot of humanitarians are kind of caught in a condition where
right.
They're aware that when this family that we're currently evacuating leaves their home, that home will almost immediately be occupied by military, because the house next door, right, is occupied by the military. And so when the next door neighbors leave, like that information goes around immediately, and word gets out, I'm sure, right? And so like 1-2 hours, sometimes literally immediately, the houses get occupied. And people talk about like Geneva Convention, people talk about like war crimes. All of those things matter. They fucking matter. Yeah, they matter. They fucking matter. But that's not how war is fought.
Amen.
Right? Like that's the problem there. And people don't, they look at that like specific issue and they try to like localize it to what's happening, where it's happening. Like they try to localize that, but it's not a local issue. Like that's what Ukraine has to do to protect itself from
To protect this.
from a terroristic aggression on
To protect
national,
the right to do right there what that person's
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah,
Just walking, driving,
exactly.
living.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they're trying to protect themselves from Russian aggression,
Right.
and they have to do this to protect themselves.
Right.
They have to hurt themselves to protect themselves. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, that's how bad the war is. Like, that's how fucked up the war is. That's how much it really sucks for especially for people living, in villages like that.
Right.
I've met.
Say that also with this, the huge disadvantage people in villages have for defending themselves. The smallest ones that are barely, 3 blocks of some strips of homes. The selos, as Ukrainian word, right? Selo.
Selo.
Yeah, selo.
Selo.
Yeah.
I don't know that word. Selo.
Yeah. So in these villages that are tiny, as you've seen, and I know that when I went through Kherson especially, there would be just strips of them. They're just demolished. But a few people there who couldn't leave. They didn't have the resources. They're old. And someone's got to watch the cat, like you said. And like, how did you stay? Well, that's who stayed.
That's very true.
9 to 10%. So what do you, in your experience of seeing that life, and then when you come back to the big cities, how would you describe that when it comes to someone outside who needs to relate when they see, like, oh, there's a beach party, there are people at McDonald's, and like we were saying, that's what we're protecting, though, is the ability to just live some life, and especially after a year and a half of full-scale invasion and 9 years of this other, and 100 of and we can go on the aggression. It's been nonstop. Nonstop. It's just the latest, nonstop. And here they remember it, and outside it's like, oh, what's this place, Ukraine? I heard about that.
Wait, so was this place?
I said, what's this place, Ukraine? Like the outside world, right? Right.
Right.
Where's that at? It's over here.
Where? Is the Ukraine?
Where's the Ukraine?
Yeah.
And then
And that was me in 2013. That was me.
Sure.
It's like, where was the Ukraine again? Like, what? I've heard of this place. It wasn't there like a Ukrainian Van Damme? Van Damme was in a movie, right? It was like, what was it? What was it called? Fucking forget about it. But yeah.
I don't know if he did splits in it somewhere.
Sorry.
He did the splits in there somewhere.
Yeah, like the Universal Soldier, I think.
Okay. Still did the splits in there somewhere because he always has to do the splits.
The Volvo commercial, dude.
Oh, the one where they're driving?
What? Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
It's like,
because he's
what?
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Are you? Yeah. Insane, man.
So this village life, and especially where they're just in the protected area, they're in the hardest areas, but you've seen that. Like, what does that feel like when you're around that?
When you're
around that, what was it like for you to see it? Not the soldiers, but the common people you passed in those little places.
There's this kid in Donbass. He's a German kid. Really interesting guy. I love him to death. Like, I love him to death. He drove his Audi 100 from Germany. And then, was in Western Ukraine for a bit.
Right.
And he drove off into Donbass and just started evacuating people from Lysychansk. And, it was insane. When I heard about him and someone had introduced me to him, like it was a volunteer who like she knew a lot of other volunteers and a lot of other volunteer efforts, right? Like water efforts, humanitarian aid, evacuation, like kind of blanket efforts, and so she would direct me to different places. She would always like introduce me to different people,
Right.
and like it was just this kind of golden opportunity of contacts that I probably wasn't at all ready for, you know. And she was just like throwing it my way, and I was like thinking like, wow, like I'm like overwhelmed with what I'm doing already. Like this might be just like pearls to swine, you know what I'm saying? I was like, dude, I'm like a pig out here, like, dude,
Right.
like you're giving me these like crazy, like amazing contacts. But this one I thought to pursue because I was on my way to Donbass from Dnipro for a second time, a second kind of season, and this was my first opportunity to very concretely, provide someone who is most likely not getting any coverage at all, which is fine if you can sustain yourself like that. But you start learning that through your own experiences, because this is my first time doing this.
Right.
Through your own experiences, it's really hard to come out here and stay focused on exactly what you're trying to do, while at the same time fundraising for yourself in order to sustain your work. And you have to always fight this